There is a quiet thread in the noise of our world, a soft voice from 800 years ago that still whispers when all the other voices get too loud. It was October. David, a 28-year-old software developer from New York, sat motionless in his apartment, blinds drawn, food untouched, his mind clouded with thoughts that felt too heavy to carry. He had tried therapy, tried the gym, tried turning to friends, but none of it stuck. One night, scrolling through videos in the dark, he stumbled upon a quote, just a few lines. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. That quote hit something. It didn't fix him, but it stopped the bleeding. And that was the moment David started writing Rumi's words on sticky notes, placing them all over his apartment. They weren't just quotes. They were anchors. Slowly, gently, they began pulling him back to the surface. David's not a spiritual teacher. He's not even religious. But today he's happy, not in a perfect Instagram-filtered way, but in the grounded, stable way that comes from learning how to sit with life instead of fighting it. His weapon of choice was Rumi, and he is not alone in this. There's Emily, who used Rumi's metaphor of the guest house to recover after losing her mother. There is also Kareem, who found peace from PTSD after months of re-experiencing his trauma either through nightmares or flashbacks. Do not grieve. Anything you lose comes around in another form. This isn't magic. It's ancient wisdom that has been proven, repurposed, and reborn for the broken-hearted people of today. And maybe for you too. Imagine sitting across from Rumi in 2025. The world outside is spinning so fast, social media screaming, bills piling, expectations growing like weeds in a neglected garden. You look tired. He looks at you, not with pity, not with judgment, but with this strange, warm clarity. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? The question doesn't accuse you. It liberates you. Because here's the secret Rumi knew. Suffering isn't always a punishment. It's a passage. And depression, as impossible as it feels, is not a malfunction. It is a message. Rumi's teachings weren't about fixing the soul like it's a broken machine. He never said, just be positive or snap out of it. That is the modern world's impatient voice. But Rumi invites you to walk with it. He would say, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And what a strange paradox that is, that the pain you hate might be the very doorway to something deeper. Let's break that down, not with philosophy, but with life. When you are depressed, every part of you wants out of the room, out of the situation, and sometimes, tragically, out of life itself. But Rumi shifts the question from, how do I escape this pain, to what is this pain here to teach me? He is not asking you to romanticize your suffering. He is asking you to sit with it, like a mentor sits with a student. There is a story often told in Sufi circles, of a man who comes to Rumi with tears in his eyes. I've lost everything, he says. My wife is gone. My business has failed. I have no friends left. What am I supposed to do now? Rumi smiles gently and replies, now, you are ready to be loved without condition. That story isn't about loss. It is about what happens after the identity, the version of you thought was you, falls away. Because in depression, that's what it feels like, the shedding of everything that once gave you meaning. But Rumi reminds us that maybe the collapse isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of truth. But how can you use this wisdom? Let's say you're in bed right now, heavy, unmotivated. Your phone is near, but everything feels like static. Here is what Rumi would tell you to do, not from a therapist's office, but from one aching soul to another. First, do not run from the feeling. He would say, don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. So instead of judging your sadness, observe it. Name it. Watch it. Write it. This act alone creates space between you and the storm. and in that space is your power. Secondly, turn your pain into poetry. Not necessarily literal poetry, but expression. Your tears are valid, but if you leave them stagnant, they'll rot. Turn them into movement. Dance, write, speak. Scream into the pillow if you must, but put your emotion in motion. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. This is Rumi's way of saying, you don't need to explain your healing, just show up to it. And thirdly, find a thread. There is always a thread, a lesson, a shift, a soft rebirth. And it often starts in darkness. Take 19-year-old Amira from Jordan, for example. Bullied, silenced, shamed for her voice. One day, a mentor gives her a translated Rumi quote. You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life? That phrase stuck, not in a motivational post kind of way, but in a rewiring of her nervous system. It challenged her story. Day by day, she wrote that quote at the top of her journal. Now she runs a podcast for young Arab women reclaiming their identity. A quote didn't change her life. It gave her permission to change it. You see, Rumi's teachings aren't loud. They are not neon signs. They're whispers. But sometimes, a whisper in a silent room is the loudest thing in the world. And depression makes your world so quiet. Maybe that's why his words land so well in the silence. So how do you actually apply them? You don't wait for the pain to go away. You use the pain as fuel. Each time you hear the voice that says, "You're worthless," respond with a verse. Literally, I am not this hair. I am not this skin. I am the soul that lives within. Each time the world says, "You failed," answer with, "Try to be like the moon in the sky, always there, always glowing, no matter how dark the world becomes." This isn't about delusion. It is about building a different relationship with your darkness, one that doesn't shame you for being there. And finally, if Rumi were alive in 2025, he wouldn't ask you to pretend. He wouldn't flood your feed with hustle culture, quotes, or brag about his morning routine. He would sit beside you, say nothing for a while. Then he would whisper, "You were searching for me, but I was hiding inside you." Because that is the final key. Rumi didn't give answers. He helped you remember what you already knew. You are not broken. You are not your sadness. You are not your past. You are the observer, the soul, the spark behind it all. And when you finally see that, not with your eyes, but with your heart, you'll look back on the darkness not as an enemy, but as the teacher that led you home. So listen, if you're struggling right now, don't wait to be saved. Begin with one line, one word, one truth, maybe even this one. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you, and let that be the first step back into light.